Welcome back to Giant Monster Games. My name is Adrian, and I finally broke down after building a Pauper deck on the live stream. Last time we did a live stream, I said, okay, I'm gonna finalize this deck, and then I'll make a video about it. So today, we are doing red-green Tron for Pauper. But before I break that video down, don't forget to go over to Flipside Gaming if you want to pick this deck up or any deck up in paper for the channel. Use promo code GiantMonsterGames to get 10% off your online purchase. And if you want to pick this deck up for MTGO, there's a link below this video to Card Hoarder, where you can pick the deck up quick, fast, easy, helps the channel. You guys know the routine. Okay, let's get into it, starting out with what exactly is Tron? Well, if you've seen the other Tron video, you know exactly what Tron is. If you don't, Tron is 3 specific lands. It is Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Tower. Together, these 3 lands produce a ton of mana, like a giant robot, specifically Voltron, coming together. They create the Tron lands, which then create a total of 7 mana for you once you have all 3 of them in play. So, the objective of the deck, as you might guess, is to get a lot of mana, and then use that mana to cast giant creatures or other spells that need a lot of mana. Speaking of lands, we have forests and mountains in this deck as well to make up an entire land package for us, because we're running obviously playsets of all of the Urza's lands. So now that we know the plan is to get the Urza lands together so we can have a righteous party, how do we do that? Well, we have enablers that allow us to get this done quick and efficiently. We have Ancient Stirrings and Expedition Map being the first 2 of their type. Ancient Stirrings allows us to look at the top 5 cards of our library, put a colorless card into our hand, and then put the rest on the bottom of our library in whatever order we choose. Fun fact, lands are colorless, if you didn't know this. Lands are colorless, so when we do this, if we see a Urza land, or in a lot of cases, some of our win conditions are colorless, we can then throw it into our hand and keep going and hopefully win the game really quickly. Expedition Map is just even better, because Expedition Map allows us to pay 2, sacrifice this thing, and then we get to go and search up any land. So we can actually go and get the last piece if we need one of the pieces, or we can go and start getting the pieces if we don't have any Urza's land in our hand. It seems weird that we wouldn't have that, but we can use Expedition Map to get any land we need, which is extremely important when we need to get specific lands. So these are our 2 main enablers, but we also have a couple other cards that are going to help us enable as well. We have Chromatic Sphere and Prophetic Prism. Now, both of these are also doing a little bit of mana fixing. Chromatic Sphere, when it comes into play, we also then get to pay 1, crack it, sack it, and then we get to draw a card from this, by the way. And then we also get 1 mana of our choice, so if we only have Urza's lands which produce colorless mana, we can use it to then pay green or pay red, whatever we need. Prophetic Prism, when it comes into play, we get to draw a card, which is super nice, and then it gets to do mana fixing in general for us, which is usually more effective for us in this exact deck. In other Tron builds, it's not really helpful at all, but in this one, it is very helpful. So these are our 2 kind of semi-enablers, because we're drawing a bunch of cards off them, which is really what we need, to be quite honest. Also, I want to point this out. There is a bunch of cards over there that have Annihilator on them, and we are running one, for the record, and Chromatic Sphere is really good if you're playing against a Tron matchup. They are running those cards. Keep these cards in play, because then you can sacrifice it to the Annihilator, and you don't have to worry about losing the stuff that actually matters. Those will be all of our enablers, but how do we actually win? What are the win conditions of this deck, seeing as how we don't have the giant Emrakuls or Karns or Ugins that you would normally see in a Tron build? Well, we're going to get a little bit creative. First of all, we have Ulamog's Crusher, which is fantastic because it is a 8/8 Annihilator 2 creature. It must attack every single turn, which is, it's a thing. So that's the first way we're going to win, and the second way we're going to win is Self-Assembler. Now, Self-Assembler, I love this card because it costs 5, sure. It is a 4/4, awesome, and whenever you get to play it, you get to go and fetch up another one. So once we have Tron assembled, every single turn we're basically, well, I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna get another one, and the next turn I'm gonna play another one, and play another one, and play another one. You're just gonna keep playing them over and over again, which makes it really hard for your opponent to deal with that. I'm not sure how you deal with a bunch of 4/4s coming in every single turn, unless you can get rid of them. I guess you could technically, I was gonna say you could Surgical Extraction them, but Surgical Extraction is definitely a rare card. Not in Pauper. So these are our 2 primary win conditions, but because we are also a red deck, we're actually primarily a red deck technically, we do have some other win conditions, and those are going to be Kiev's Torch and Rolling Thunder. I know I'm pronouncing Kiev's wrong, I don't actually know how to pronounce this word. It is complicated for me. So both of these guys are allowing us to pay X and red, or red in the case of Rolling Thunder, and then do that much damage to target creature or player. In the case of Rolling Thunder, we actually can do it amongst any number of creatures and players, which is super fun if we need to wipe a board really quickly. And then Kiev's Torch actually has a little bit of protection to itself. So anything that is targeting that spell while it is on the stack, they have to pay an additional 2 mana, otherwise that spell gets countered. So it has a little bit of protection. It's kind of like hard to counter unless your opponent has mana to counter it plus the mana to pay for this. So this is our backup win condition. I will say normally we're beating in with the creatures a little bit, and then we're using this to finish up our opponent for 7 to 8 damage, which no one sees coming. No one is like, okay, I'm at 8 health, I'm on the rocks here, I don't know what I'm gonna do. No one feels this. No one. If people get to 3 and they feel that, they're like, okay, they might draw a lightning bolt. No, we're just gonna Kiev Torch for 8 damage. So that is this is kind of our, I'm gonna say primary win condition as well, because it's usually our finisher. We're gonna beat him with creatures and then finish with one of these 2 cards. This is the main idea. Moving over to something else that is very important in any single deck, and that's gonna be removal. You guys see removal in every single one of these videos. We are running Lightning Bolt and Magma Jet. Magma Jet also just happens to be a removal spell that also allows us to scry, so we can actually dig for Tron or do other stuff if we need to. Usually we're using both of these cards kind of early game to like spot removal creatures that we just don't want to deal with, because the way you beat Tron is either get rid of lands or you outrace them. So we want to get rid of creatures that our opponent are playing that might try and outrace us. So we're going to see 2 drops and 3 drops. I should say not necessarily 2 drops, 3 drops. So we're going to see 2 toughness and 3 toughness creatures that we're going to go, no, I don't think I want that in play because I can't deal with that if you're going to swing in for 3 damage every single turn. Now, bam, lightning bolt to the face, goodbye. So removal, always super important. Keep that in mind. That is what we need. And turns out that is the entire deck, but let's talk about the sideboard for this deck, because the sideboard is where this deck gets a little bit interesting. So the first cards we have is Ray of Reflection, Smash to Smithereens, and Stone Rain. So Stone Rain obviously is against our Tron matchups or other land-specific matchups. There's not a ton of them. Tron really is the big one, is where we're going to be using Stone Rain. Ray of Revelation, which I know is white. We do have ways of getting white. It's just a little bit more difficult. Is really helping us with enchantment matchups. There's a couple enchantments out there that you kind of need to be able to deal with, so we are running one of it just to be safe. Also, it has flashback, so once we cast it, then we can just pay green for it as well. So it is neat in that sense. And then Smash to Smithereens, I don't really need to explain Smash to Smithereens. It destroys an artifact, it does 3 damage while it does it, and Affinity is a really popular deck in Pauper format, which I have learned. So Smash to Smithereens, really good to have. I think I have it at 2 right now. I kind of wouldn't mind going up to 3. The more I play. I'm new to Pauper, so this is kind of what I've kind of felt like I should put in here, but I may not be right on this, so that's currently what I'm running. Moving over to the next thing we have is Circle of Protection for red, Fog, and Relic of Progenitus. So these are helping us with other types of protection. Circle of Protection red, obviously, there's a lot of red aggro decks out there because red has some cheap, good aggro creatures. This is just going to help us take a whole bunch of damage from those, so prevent damage, which is always really nice. Additionally, if we are running against a deck similar to this one, which you don't see as much of, we can also just block whatever massive damage might be coming through, so that's really good. Fog is against largely creature-based decks. There is a lot, like a ton of creature-based decks in Pauper, which is cool. I'm a very big fan of creature-based decks, so aggro decks are good, so having Fog is really, really necessary if you're going to protect against it, especially because, again, as I said, you win against Tron by outracing Tron. If we can prevent our opponent from outracing us, then we can eventually get a big creature into play and then be blocking and smashing our opponent's face for more damage than they're doing to us. And then Relic of Progenitus, you guys know what this card does. It is also played in Modern, and I'm assuming that most of you guys that are watching this know me because I make Modern videos mostly. It is tap it, target player exiles a card from his or her graveyard, so we can slowly remove stuff from graveyards. And then we have the added ability of 1, exile Relic of Progenitus, exile all cards from all graveyards, and we get to draw a card. So again, there's a few graveyard synergy decks I've seen out there that this card is going to be really good against because we can get rid of graveyards, obviously. And the last 3 cards we have in our sideboard is we have Electricity, Flaring Pain, and Temur Battle Rage. So Electricity is helping us deal with a lot of go-wide strategies. There's a lot of kind of weenie decks out there, small creatures, not hot dogs, if you will. Small creature decks, we can use this to wipe an entire board because it has overload for 2, so we can just blast an entire board, which is really good, or we can just use it for spot removal, so this tends to be pretty good for that. Flaring Pain is if someone else is running Circle of Protection against us, we can use this to get rid of the Circle of Protection ability because, for the record, if you didn't know this, if there are two abilities that say the opposite things, the negative takes precedent. So, Circle of Protection says the next time a red source of your choice would deal damage this turn, prevent that damage, and then Flaring Pain is damage can't be prevented this turn. So the way this works is Circle of Protection is saying a source can't deal damage, but Flaring Pain is saying damage can't be prevented, which takes precedent, meaning if your opponent is playing Circle Protection red against this deck, you can then Flaring Pain, no, we're still going to deal damage. It also has Flashback, which is fantastic, and it's instant speed, so holy wow, fantastic. Amazing beans. And then Team of Battle Rage is if we're going up against a couple other big decks, there's a few stompy decks out there, some green stompy decks, we can use Team of Battle Rage to push through, again, dealing double strike damage, and because all of our creatures are 4 toughness or better, they get trample as well, which is super awesome, and I love it because it allows us to smash stuff very good. This is the entire deck, though. I realize that I don't actually have an upgrade section because this is as upgraded as the deck can possibly get. There may be a couple small things here and there that you may be able to find, but there isn't an upgrade section, so this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see more Pauper videos, leave a comment below. If you want to see more videos in general, subscribe to GiantMonsterGames. And now let's throw it over to Gameplay Adrian, where Adrian is going to play some games. I'm going to play games, is what I'm saying, with this deck, and specifically because we're going to be playing with a special guest. Going to be super exciting. Until next time, my name's Adrian, this is GiantMonsterGames. Don't forget to game like a giant monster. I want to throw a huge shout out to all of the Patreon supporters of Giant Monster Games. It is people like you that are helping me make videos like this every single week. If you want to join them and become part of the madness that is Patreon, click on the link in the description or on the video itself.